Discount Podcast.
Welcome in, you cheap beggars, to Discount, the bargain bin gaming podcast, hosted by three hosts so small, if they were a city in the UK, they'd be St. David's.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cute.
That's good.
Each week, every other week, we battle over budget games. We battle over budget games.
Okay.
To try and find out who can be the best, the worst, using random prompts to do it. Hey, you're finally awake. You were trying to start a podcast, right? Yes, I was. My name's Josh. I'm one of your hosts. I'm plugging into Player 2.
Using my peak of culinary talent to make soup, and soup. I'm Darren, hello. And toggling into third person.
I'm just picking paper off trees and trying to make sure that this really creepy tall guy doesn't capture and kill me. It's Karis.
It's neither of us then. So, hello and welcome back to a flawless intro of Discount. Yes, it's another fight episode. We aren't doing those freebies and free play stuff. We're doing fighting. We're arguing. We want to be the best.
What's going on with you today? Your freebies.
I don't know. My voice is all over the shop. I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. Cool. But yes, we're here to fight all things non-human, non-person, non-something.
I thought you were just going to full stop there. We're here to fight all things.
We're here to fight. Yeah. We've got a long, whimsical title for this episode, but we aren't looking at this episode to start off with.
No.
We need to clear up our mess of the previous episode first. As always, we need to go back into our vault to find out which was the best of our previous game. So, do we want to open the vault?
Yep.
Honestly, the pair of you looked like you were having dumps then. I don't know what was going on. How were you straining to open that fucking vault? I don't know what was going on.
I haven't worked out recently.
No. By recently, what? 15 years?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just nearly spat my drink everywhere.
It was a heavy door, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yes, but now...
I brought the gravel as well.
Thank you for bringing the gravel. Good God. Right. So, let's look at last. So, last one was anime games, where we had... quite a selection of them, which we all deemed were quite anime in general, and would have different subgroups very excited for them. They were Digimon Cyber Sleuth.
Yep.
I think sort of longer name than that, but I'm going. It's Digimon Cyber Sleuth.
Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth.
That's it. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch remastered, and also Fist of the North Star.
Lost Paradise.
Lost Paradise. I knew there's an episode.
As I said to you, writing the description for that episode was a nightmare.
Honestly, they are some of the longest.
It's like I was trying to write an undergrad essay and padding the word count.
Honestly, anime is such a short title. Then to go, every anime one is 40 words. They've all got little epitaphs and going on there. But yes, we had those three games, all different subsets of the anime genre, I would say, and different fans fighting for which they think is the best. But yes, one has reigned victorious and will be entering the vault now. Which games do you think it would be? Which is the game that you think deserves to go in is the real question.
I mean, realistically speaking, if I was going to pick one, it would be Ni no Kuni.
It's the best game.
But because it's the best game, and also because of the...
We have to represent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll both be pleased to know it is Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch will be entering into the vault to join other great alumni. You're trying to work out who's going to play it on the stream.
Who's playing it, yeah.
Have you worked it out, Mr. Mathsman? Sorry, I'm just dropping some matchsticks on the ground, see if Darren can count those as well. do all of it at the same time.
I don't know. It might be me.
It might be you
sure.
again. Who knows? But yes, very exciting. I'm glad that Ni no Kuni's gone in. I think it's the one that deserved to go in there. Not that the other two were bad games. I just think that Ni no Kuni is one of those games that if you know, you know. Like you don't find people go, I didn't like that game. Yeah. It's just genuine joy, I think, when you play it.
It's you.
Me
who plays it.
It's me who plays it. Oh, I thought you did. I am genuine joy. I thought, God, Darren, we've known each other for so many years.
I'm laying on the charm before the fight starts.
In the car, he described himself as, what was it? Bright-eyed and full of hope. But I thought, oh my God, that's not you.
No, I said there was a picture of me where I looked like that when I was much younger, about 10 years ago.
Back in the day.
Yes.
When I was bright-eyed and full of hope, and I said, I don't think that's ever been you.
No, it hasn't been. But yes, so we've got...
Is that just the point where it stopped?
Yeah.
Our vault is now full of game of Ni no Kuni. So I will place that. I'll put that very comfortably on the ground. And we shall close the vault and move into the genre. You guys get on it, close the fucking doors. Have you pulled yourself together?
No.
You pulled the door closed, but you haven't pulled yourself together.
I actually pushed the door closed, or else I'd be inside.
I just don't know what's going on.
That was my hope after today.
Josh is shutting us in.
But yes, we are now going into the actual main body of this episode with one of the more confusing game prompts that we've had in a while, not quite hard, which is first-person non-shooter games.
Yeah.
Which, let's put this abundantly clear. Darren, what is a first-person non-shooter game?
It's not a third-person shooter.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is about as wrong as it could be.
Yep.
Gears of War is about as wrong as this could be.
Could be.
Also, because none of us have Xboxes.
No.
So that would be super wrong.
And also, it's not right anyway, because he's definitely not the first human ever. He's not a first person.
Okay.
He's one of the later ones.
So if we'd bought someone's called Adam,
Yeah, you could argue it.
we could have argued that.
Unless he shoots, then it's wrong.
That's true. But yes, I think I speak for all of us here. This was a fucking nightmare
It's a
to
weird
fight
one,
games
yeah.
for.
This was by far the hardest month to buy for me. I really struggled.
I'd say generally it was one of the harder ones, even going back to like some of the old prompts.
Yeah.
I don't think it's this difficult since like fucking Side Scrollers, the first one.
Yeah, I mean, Side Scrollers was hard because you were inundated with so many choices.
Yeah.
Whilst this was so hard because it was impossible to Google.
It's also one of our most specific prompts. It's not just a genre, it's a condition.
The Googling part, I will say, was the most frustrating thing I have ever done. I don't know how many times I have to Google in capitals, in not a shooter, first person, not a shooter, only to be granted by 4,500 lists of the best first person shooters. I don't want that. I said no.
The issue was you put the word shooter in there. What you had to do was first person and then a different genre.
I just googled first person and then went shooter, that one, shooter, that one.
I was looking first person puzzle, first person horror. Like I was going down that way to try and get like cut out.
But then even then when I started doing that,
Shooters.
there were so many that like they're either shooters or you can't buy physical copies of them.
Yeah.
There was a lot of issue with that of lots of ones that I was like, oh, that'd be cool. That doesn't exist for me to buy.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually work.
I mean, they do have a physical copy. It's a limited edition that costs a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
Or doesn't exist anymore.
And really that's fine, but it just, you're like, oh god, that's the game I want to get. Do we want to talk the games that we got, or do we want to talk about the games we wanted to buy first, or should we just do this? We do this every week. Should we just announce the games we've bought each other and talk about games we thought about getting? Because really all we're doing is giving a bit of information.
Yeah.
So, should we do an order of the games we received?
Yep. Shame I don't know what that is this time.
I think I might have got my game first. So the game I bought for Darren definitely arrived first, but then sat with me for a week.
Yep. My game, I think, technically arrived last, but Karis already had it.
Yep.
Yeah.
What we'll do I'll go first, then Darren, then Karis.
What
Let's do it
we'll
that
do
way.
Oh, I'm last again. Cool.
What we'll do is...
My game arrived last, as is tradition.
All right. To make everyone better, Darren, you can go last and pretend my game came last to make everyone feel better. I will go first and pretend that Karis didn't buy her game last.
What is happening?
So the game that I received, he says, opening and showing nothing to no one, was Bendy and the Ink Machine. That commonplace game that everyone knows.
Yeah.
You know? So Bendy and the Ink Machine is a first-person horror game.
Is it a shooter?
We'll get into this, but no, it's not a shooter. But there was no way you would describe this as a shooter.
Okay.
So Bendy and the Ink Machine is an episodic game. It's got 5 chapters. When it originally came out, it was released episodically, and now you just buy it as a complete set. which makes sense. It was heavily inspired, apparently, by the BioShock series, and the game is set in the fictional Joey Drew Studios, where you've got this character called Bendy, who is like almost like a Steamboat Willie style, like old school animation, and you're a guy who is coming back. I think you're called Joey. I can't remember which one you are. No, you're Henry. You're coming back to Joey's studio. You used to be an artist there. You come in, and it's first person. Everything is sort of like sepia, weird cell shaded, making it feel like you're in like a 3D version of an old school game.
Cool.
As you try to discover what's happened to this place as it gets darker and darker, as it feels like Joey has almost summoned a demon style of Bendy, as he's got more and more obsessed with this ink that he's found and all of that, and you're busy trying to make your way through the story. So yeah, it's a first person, combat driven, not really puzzly, like puzzle is find the items, bring them back. And that is what the game is. So I'm going to go into more details about like entertainment, but that's the rough idea, is you are going in there to try and find what happens. You fall in and basically you can't get out until you solve the story.
Cool.
But yeah, it's quite short. It's quite simple. It knows what it's doing. You're going in there. Horror, you're meant to be spooked.
Cool.
And it is spooky.
Yeah.
So that is what I received, which is Bendy and the Ink Machine. Up next, we'll pretend that Karis received her game next.
Really, I have no idea what order they came in.
No, it was a bit of a mess.
Fuck it.
All I know is the first game to arrive was mine, but then
Yeah.
it sat with me for a week.
Yeah.
So I sent it to the wrong place.
So the game that I got was Ghostwire Tokyo.
God, didn't even pretend to open it.
Well, I didn't see
For
the
nobody.
there you go. It's open.
It's like it's here in the room.
Is the game in the room with us right now? It's Ghostwire Tokyo. So this is an interesting one because it's one I actually kind of always like the look of. So with Ghostwire Tokyo, it's almost like a kind of science fiction horror cross, where you take on the role of a young man called Akito, who is possessed by a spirit and is kind of wakes up alone in the streets of Shibuya, I'm sorry if I say that wrong, which is a ward of Tokyo, and a mysterious fog hits the city, and the city is kind of overrun by these kind of paranormal, almost Slender Man looking creatures. And you have to kind of use the powers that the spirits that have possessed you to try and combat these like paranormal visitors. So I won't say too much more about it.
Saving for the entertainment section.
Yeah.
I think we all often do a lot too much at the beginning, and then we get to
Yeah.
entertainment and we struggle to sort of give more. And I think that's why we want to give more about the game.
Yeah.
So
I will end that there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Darren, apparently you received your game last.
I did. Open box. The game I received was the Talos Principle, which is not a first-person shooter. It's not a shooter in any way.
No.
It is a puzzly time. Basically, you awaken in a nice sort of grove. You are a robot, and you're spoken to by a voice calling himself Elohim, God, and he basically just says, "Hey, go do some puzzles." So you go and do some puzzles. And that's generally it. It's a first-person puzzle game. You typically walk into little self-contained puzzles, and you have a variety of tools at your disposal to solve them, basically. Mm-hmm. You unlock new tools as you go along using the outcome of previous puzzles, and it just goes from there. There's sort of three main hubs, which are all based around different cultures. So the first one, I think, is meant to be Greek-inspired. The second one is Egypt, and the third one, I think, is sort of like a sort of medieval England theme, sort of castles and stuff like that. And yeah, you just do these sequence of self-contained puzzles to unlock the next worlds or the next items, and it progresses from there. I'll save a lot of it for entertainment, because both elements of the narrative and the gameplay I want to bring up in that case.
Makes sense.
But yeah, it is a puzzly time with robots. So
all of us bought each other first-person non-shooters, I think is fair to say.
Yep.
Quite different games as well, really. I would say one is, one's a puzzle, one's a horror. It does have puzzle aspects, but it's a horror game. And the other is
sort of an action-adventure
thing. An action-adventure sort of one, yeah. So quite different in scope, quite different in budgets as well. Like I think the one that I've got, Bendy, is like a tiny team. I don't think Talos is much bigger, but it's like a double A, I would say.
Yeah, it's by the team who made Serious Sam.
Okay.
So it's like sort of middle tier.
Yeah. So like AA, I've got Bendy is indie. You got AA, which is Talos, and then
Bethesda,
AAA, and then Bethesda, which is a big old company.
Yeah.
But yeah, so quite sparse, like in what they are. But I imagine there were a lot of games we were all looking at prior to purchasing these. And I think it's one game that we were all umming and ahhing on for a while. I think I'll just mention it because I think we all thought about it, which is Skyrim.
Yeah.
And whether it was too much to bullshit the entire episode as well.
I said from the beginning, because of course the way our system works is you buy clockwise and then you buy counterclockwise. I said if this was on a week where I was buying for Josh, I would have bought him Skyrim on day one and just closed the fucking deal.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that Keras would be into it. I thought it would be too broad and too sort of weird for it to appeal to you.
That's the main reason I've not picked up Skyrim, is I just feel like it's too big for me.
And it's one of the struggles you always have is, depending on what week it is, you have to sort of plan differently who you're buying for.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I bought Ghostwire this time. You haven't played it.
No.
You have.
Yeah, I've got the pattern.
I wouldn't buy it for you.
You wouldn't buy it for me. Yeah, it's playing it because then you're also trying to get the entertainment out of it. Because also you don't want to be like, oh, this person already knows it, or he has a full formed. It's the same as buying me Skyrim, I suppose, because I've played enough of it, but you know that Skyrim's a good enough game for to go there. Games that I looked at and thought about getting, just sort of thing. Firewatch was one of those ones I thought about. It's another one of those walking sims. There were quite a lot of walking sims that could have been done there, but again, they're all digital, like that, What Remains of Edith Finch, Everybody's Gone to Rapture, those sorts of games, but I think you've probably played most of those as well, Dan, which is why I didn't go for them. And then I looked at quite a few, then I went into Puzzle. Puzzle is where I went down things. So I was looking at the Sojourn, which I could have got you, which was like a tenner, it might have helped me out. But I liked the look of the Talos Principle, and that had better reviews. What's his name? Mandon?
The weird Swiss one.
Swiss horror game, which I also like. But again, only digital. I looked at Cube 2, another puzzler, Observer, another puzzler, and then like Among the Sleep, which is a really interesting like first-person horror game where you're like a 2-year-old and you're scared and you're trying to get out. But it had such polarizing things. I thought, I don't want to risk that game. I'll go for something which has primarily got positive reviews from it. So yeah, those are the sort of ones I was looking at. Anyone else looking at?
Along those same lines of like the Among the Sleep, I looked at Hello Neighbor.
Oh yeah,
which I sort of wasn't.
Is that first person?
I think it's first person. Yeah,
I always thought it was third for some reason.
The other two I looked at really. I didn't look very far for this one. I sort of looked around a little bit and then went, that seems fair. Was Soma.
Oh yes,
which people like.
Yeah, which again is digital.
That is one that I try to look at too.
And then Xbox 360 and PC exclusive Condemned.
Oh yeah,
which has very minimal, like optional shooting, which would have made it hard to argue. The entire idea is it steers you away from that.
Yeah.
But that's got this really cool like horror aesthetic. The idea is you're trapped in a house of like murderers. So most of your combat is you just pick up bricks and just fucking club people with them because that's all you have on hand. And I thought that would have spoken really well to sort of the kind of things you're into, you're interested to in the aesthetic, but it's an Xbox 360 game.
Yeah. For me, I predominantly kind of looked down the kind of first-person horror route. Soma was one I looked at. And then it was really getting, because obviously so many of them aren't physical release. So I looked at Madison, for example, which I think looks really interesting. It's very, very limited physical release. I looked at things like Outlast and Amnesia, all online digital download only. I also was gutted to find out that, because one of the things that I really want to watch someone play is the Mortuary Assistant.
Oh yeah.
So the Mortuary Assistant is a first-person game where you play the assistant of a mortician in doing an autopsy on a woman who essentially it looks like she was possessed by a demon, and all these horrible weird things start happening, and watching people play it is hysterical because apparently it is shit scary.
It was a big like reaction game.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the problem being is that I think you can only get it on Steam. I think it's a PC only thing. So
it's like I thought like surgery simulator would have been fun. Like stuff like that I thought would have been quite cool. But again, it's very hard to get anything.
I thought of the one I referenced in my intro, which was Job Simulator, but it's VR only.
Right.
That would have been fucking class.
Yeah.
I love that game.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Like I think this is a very difficult. It's not niche because I imagine there are a lot of games out there. It's just they're all digital because they're normally made by indie developers trying to do something different. That's the problem. But yeah. So those are what we're looking at. But should we now fight about which of our games was the best? Yes. I thought you were going to try and do fight too early then.
Nope, never try.
Round 1. Fight!
I feel like you tried to psych me out to say fight before you even pressed play.
Yeah, it was.
Round, press.
Like most awkward eye contact between the two of you because Josh was just leaning forward waiting.
I don't know, there's probably been more awkward.
It definitely has. So if you haven't been here before, what we do now is we fight over 4 categories to see which is the best game you could have bought on this budget bargain bin thing. The 4 categories are most accurate, value for money, most entertaining, and then player of the game. The first 3 categories go to the person who bought the game. The last points can go to the person who played the game. Just to sort of mix it up a little bit. It can lead to ties, and I don't know how it's going to go in this episode. Normally, coming in, I feel like I have a good idea how things are going to pan out. This one, I really haven't got the first idea. No. So, we'll go into first, which is most accurate.
Yeah.
Are all our games first person?
Yes.
Are they all not shooters?
Questionable.
Questionable as well for me as well.
Oh no,
Good.
my game's not questionable. The game I bought is questionable.
Yeah. I don't. That's what I was going to say. The game I'm playing, I would say.
Okay, so why is Ghostwire questionable to not be a first-person shooter?
It is not a shooter in the sense that I don't have a gun.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't have a weapon. My weapon is my body and the powers that I exude. However,
out of context,
plays...
that sounds like a really strong feminist statement.
It's played like a shooter, if that makes sense. So
you're firing projectiles from your hands.
In your hands, and there is a way that you have aim assist. You are able to lock on to things. You can. It's not a gun, but it plays like a shooter.
But it is definitely first person. So
Yeah.
So that's because I think that's probably where our distinction is going to fall down is like what other levels of projectiles you're using. In
the argument I made to it is that the shooting is a key part of it, but because it's got so many of these elements, like the general exploration, you have like ghost parkour times, where the shooting elements come in, but it's more of like a first person action adventure things where you fire your projectiles, but it doesn't quite cross over into FPS.
I mean, me and Darren both have the platinum for this, and at no point do I think I would say this is a first-person shooter game because it doesn't have those elements. But I agree that it does have the firing projectiles, which makes it a weaker argument than potentially other
I would say
parts of the games.
Well, having played it for a few hours now, the first couple of hours, I would say, until you get a little bit further on and you have a bit more of those exploration elements, it's very shoot heavy in the first couple of hours.
Like I wouldn't call it a first person shooter, but it's like Medieval in the non-human one. I think it's the clear third place in this argument. I bought it and I think it's the third place in this argument. It's the closest to a shooter.
Yeah, I think it probably is. I mean, I'm going to say this now. Bendy and the Ink Machine isn't a first person shooter. Like, you're running around, your weapons primarily are a wrench or a pipe that you find from like toilets and your friend Boris the wolf gives you, or a plunger or an axe. Those are like your weapons. Sometimes you have a can in your hand, like an empty can, to distract people, but that's only very briefly. Now, with that being said, there is a way in chapter 3. So this is completely optional to get it, and you don't know how you're getting. Like, you have to go in a toy shop, you find like a little ink blob that you can change. So it's originally in the shape of Bendy, you hit it again, it turns into Boris the Wolf, it turns into Alice Angel, then it turns into the Ink Machine. If you do that, then you go down, complete a bunch of quests, but don't die. They offer up a Tommy gun to you, which you get for a very brief moment for one little section where there's only one enemy you could shoot. Which is the only element of shooter in this game. So it's not a shooter, but you can get a gun if you do a very specific thing to then fire bullets. Plus, there is a trophy linked to a firing range. Now, I'm going to talk about this now. There's a firing range in this for a specific trophy where you It's like a funhouse carnival area. So again, you do have to use this gun though. That's the only problem. You have to use this gun to open a door. You just have to pass it. There is a trophy linked to it for hitting all the targets, which I'm going to tell you now is near impossible because I could not do it. I must have spent about an hour trying to do it and I just couldn't do it. But you have to shoot. At one point in this game, you have to use a gun to fire at targets. But that is the only real element of a shooter in this, which is shooting at little circular targets that pop up like a duck shooting gallery in a game. And that's it.
Yep.
The rest of the game, though, no firing or doing anything like that. Your fights are, you have an axe, you knock cogs off of a machine. You have an axe or a plunger and you hit a mutated version of your friend Boris. Yeah. It's that sort of level, or like little ink blobs. You hit them, you don't ever shoot them.
Okay.
Now Talos.
The closest you get to any form of combat is you use an axe to break down a door, and occasionally you blow up.
Nice.
I thought you were going to come at me because I think in Talos, I might be wrong, that you can choose to do first or third person.
You can, but
which is where I potentially go.
I think if you play Talos Principle in third person, you are a monster. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you, because I have a hard enough time doing some of the weird platforming asked of me in first person. In third, it's over the shoulder third person. I imagine that'd be fucking weird.
God.
Right.
Trying to do a puzzle game in over the shoulder third person. Get the fuck out of here. No, you can play it in third person. You're a fucking monster if you do, but it's got the closest you get to shooting is one of the puzzles is you redirect lasers. So technically you use an item to fire a laser, but you don't do it, you just redirect it. But I don't think it's got...
if that's the case, I think unfortunately it's going to... Not unfortunately because it's for me, but I think
it has to.
Gets it.
Yeah, it's the only one that doesn't even approach that idea.
I think so too. I think that's right.
Cool. Point to Josh.
Yep.
Yeah. The only point I'm going to get in this episode, I feel like, because we'll see how it goes. It's a very weird episode, this one. We'll see what happens. Up next is value for money. So value for money. For this, we'll look at how long it takes to beat the game.
It's an expensive week, boys and girls.
It has been. I will say this now. This has probably been the least bargain game. No, not the least. Our final episode of season 1 might have been our least bargain one.
Yeah, I think it might be the least combined bargain week. None of them are the most expensive game we've ever bought. I think normally, though, someone will buy a cheap one. And we all bought expensive games.
We all bought games that are roughly the same price.
Yeah. Maybe that's just the market for first-person non-shooters.
Yeah. Maybe.
We've defined the market. You're welcome, eBay.
Yes, thank you, eBay. So... if we're going for this, should we go in the order that we received the games in? How much purchased them? So I received Bendy and the Ink Machine first. How much do you pay for Bendy and the Ink Machine?
£17.49.
Yep, so one of our more expensive weeks.
Yep.
£17.49. Do we want to do all costs first, or do we want to do costs and...
Let's do all the costs, and then we'll go through.
Okay, how much did you buy Ghostwire for?
So Ghostwire was $16.95.
And then Talos Principle was £17.65. As we said, they're all within like £1 of each other. It's very close. So money-wise, roughly the same thing. It's down to sort of how much the game is.
Normally a week's like 15 quid, 9 quid, £1.
Yeah.
This time like 16, high 16, low 17, mid 17.
Yeah,
we nailed it.
Nailed it. Just across the board, it was all the same. And I think you said, Darren, with Ghostwire, you were hoping to get it cheap because it's gone to PS Plus.
Yeah, I was hoping people would know, and I nearly got it for like 6 quid. I had it like £4 with £2 shipping, and I was watching it going, it's going to be great, it's going to be great. And then literally 12 hours before it ran out, people just started fucking running it up. I'm like, no.
Don't do it to us.
Let me have it.
Should I go with the one that's the shortest game first?
Yeah.
So the shortest game, I think, is Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Okay.
So it says to beat Bendy and the Ink Machine is about 4.5 hours for the main story.
Okay.
Main aside 7 hours. To complete it, you're looking about 11 hours.
Okay.
I would argue it's actually probably longer than that. I've put more time into this game, but that's not because of the game.
I was just thinking, for the style of game, it sounds like that's probably about right.
It is. It feels about right. I think 11 hours, I'd say go for 12 sort of thing, 12, 13. I imagine you're going to do the completionist, you have to grab all the bacon soup cans, and you have to do all the audio logs. So you have to play it twice because the audio logs, you can't get them all in one run because you have to take a separate journey
Separate
for
paths.
one. but because of the way the saving works, if you go for chapter select, it will remove all your memory.
Okay.
So you have to play it twice. So you have to go through it twice minimum.
Okay.
But you also have to get all the bacon count. There's also no way of counting how many you've got or any tracking or anything like that.
Good
stuff.
So good fun. So that's what that one sits in at, is Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Yeah.
The next two are quite similar. But I will go with, I think Talos Principle we'll go with next.
Okay.
So it's 16 hours for the main story.
Yeah.
Main story inside's 21 hours.
Yeah.
28 and a half for the completionist run.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, Ghostwire Tokyo, shorter main story, it's 11 hours.
Yeah.
Main story's inside 20 and a half hours, so slightly shorter.
Yeah.
But then completionist is 37 hours, which is considerably longer.
Yes.
So, now it becomes, which is actually do you go for? And I'm going to think that really for this one, Bendy and the Ink Machine's out.
Yep. Fuck it.
Bendy and the Ink Machine's gone for this one. I'm going to lean, and I want to go for Talos Principle, but I think it's going to have to be Ghostwire in my head. Just, although the main story is longer in Talos, and I know Ghostwire has an RNG trophy, which is a fucking nightmare.
Took me 20 minutes. I don't know what you're talking
Took me an hour and a half. An hour and a half just pulling a stick out of a bloody box. Because I don't think the completionist stuff in Ghostwire is a massive chore. It's just a map clearing exercise. It can be a bit problematic when you're trying to find certain things.
Yeah.
But it's also the cheaper game.
Yeah. Like, the problem I have with Talos, I played it for 10, 11 hours of that, what was it, 16 story run. It's dragging.
Right.
It's dragging. It could have done with like a level less per world.
Okay.
Each world there's 3 worlds. Each one has 7 levels. I'm on like level 2 or 3 of the third world, and I kind of want to be wrapping up.
I get you.
I would say with Ghostwire as well, though, I think the main story is fun. It's interesting.
Good. It's good.
Some of the side things that you meet are good. I do think, I know it says it's fine. The collectathon is a bit like, meh.
Right.
I don't really care about getting all these things. Like, I liked the little panda, like the little raccoon boys.
Yeah.
Like, everything else, though, I couldn't really care about.
Yeah.
Really,
I'm trying not to say too much about this, to be honest, because I'm trying to keep my stuff back for most entertaining.
Yeah.
This is very much, it should be by the numbers.
Yeah.
And the question is whether you go for the completionist or like the main story. That's the deciding factor.
The only thing I will say is that I was surprised by how short Ghostwire is in the main story.
Yeah.
I was disappointed by how short it was, really, for the content in it, but that's by the by, but it is, like, I wanted more in the main story. You think for a AAA game, it's going to give you more than 11 hours of the story. Whilst Talos Principle, but that's all Talos is.
Yeah.
Talos hasn't got any side fluff. It is like, you're going through and
I think if you are playing it, you are doing all of it.
Yeah.
Just because there's literally no reason not to.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as if the side stuff is off to one side. There's little collectible things, which are whatever. But, like, one of the side things is there's 49 red sigils, like red collectibles, each which have their own puzzle. But if you're in the world, you're just going to get them anyway.
Yeah.
You're going to do all the puzzles in the world and then leave. Like, it feels weird separating them out into main story and not.
Because I've just remembered, completionist on this was actually a fucking nightmare. I've just remembered one of these where you have to find all the ghosts and remove them, and like you go to different areas and you'd be missing one fucking ghost, and you'd have to be just running around the entire area over and over again looking for. And I literally spent so long in certain areas to not even find it. But that's probably just due to me not cleaning them up as I go along, or cleaning them as I think actually the bigger issue is I cleaned up as I went along, so I missed things.
Yeah, you have like one missing.
Yeah, and it's just but I do think
I would lean towards Ghostwire.
I think Ghostwire wins this one.
Cool.
Yeah? So that is a point to Darren then.
Yay.
Did you get excited? I think it was a point for you. No, you were out at the beginning.
I thought like, ooh, good. I didn't even have to really fight for this one. I just remain quiet and coy and get paid for it, but okay.
So yes, now we move into, I think, the most difficult category because they are such different games, which is most entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone want to go first on most entertaining?
I don't mind going first only because I've been very quiet so far. And I have mixed feelings, if that makes sense. So I'm not. I actually, from what I've played of this game so far, I did really enjoy it. But I think, and this is something you both warned me about before playing it, and I think the phrase that you used is that it is
Yep.
And I went into this thinking, okay, well, I'll bear it in mind, but I've enjoyed a lot of games that other people think are so we'll give it a go. And that's the best way I can describe it. It is just.
I always say I had a good time.
Yeah,
that's it.
I had a good time. So again, I don't want to spoil too much of this because it's part of my play of the game. But what I found is that the entertainment value of this went hand in hand with your atmospheric bits, and it ebbs and flows. So I found I was so gripped by the beginning sequence in the hospital with you're learning how to do things, and the atmosphere is really creepy and it's weird because you don't know what's going on, and it was really gripping, and I thought, fuck, this is good, this is really good. And then afterwards you spend a long time trying to find a phone box.
Yeah.
And it feels like two ends of the spectrum where I don't think I've played a game like this before, where I'm so like gripped and I want to go and I want to go and I want to go, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And it hits peaks of like absolute, just really enjoying it to, okay, well now I'm bored, much quicker and in much more, I don't know how to say it, random peaks and troughs than I have with other games, and I found that quite jarring. So in the times where it was entertaining, it was very entertaining, and in the times where it wasn't, I was bored.
The story is a bit patchy, especially in that first bit where you're looking for whoever the person is who you find early on.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's fun and then it's not, and then it's fun and then it's not, because it's trying to build that challenge of finding her, but it means it has to, because the challenge to find her isn't actually that hard.
Yeah.
It has to sort of, as you're running, to go, oh, she's over there. The game's like, no, wait a second.
Yeah.
Let's go do this.
Yeah, and you do get blocked out of areas and you have to slightly well, I just want to continue with this bit. It's like, no, do this a little bit first. But I do like I didn't find it that trough so much at the beginning. I found it more towards the end where I'm just like doing the collectibles and stuff. Not that I thought it was entertaining, but like going off and being able to talk to the dogs. Amazing.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. Going off and just breaking all these pots. Good fun, clearing areas. I'm like, oh, good. But this is, I suppose that's more the style of game that I'm more in tune with.
Yeah.
So I'm going, oh, cool. Like in my head, I'm like, next thing is do this, clear this bit. Next bit, clear this bit. I do think that the little side stories, some of them are really fun. Yeah. And some of them are just And they're meant to be cool, like Japanese, folklore stories. So I can't dismiss all of them, but and there are some really cool like collectibles in this. Like you go off and you find the little umbrella demon and stuff. Like, you're like, oh, this is fun. Like he's like bouncing around because it's raining.
Each of them have like their own little challenge.
Yeah.
Like I like the one that's is it the snake woman? You have to follow around the corners.
Yes.
That's a really fun
one.
And
the water ones with the cuppers, I think they are.
Yeah.
So
sneak up on them.
Yeah, you got to sneak up on them. So I thought they've done some really cool and fun bits in there.
Yeah.
But I agree, there are those big swathes of just mundaneness, like oh, what's next to my job, right? Let's just
it's a really cool environment and aesthetic, and as you say, some of the side stories are really cool, and there comes a point where you're like, oh, I have to do the story again. Like one of the side stories is the one I thought was the coolest is the woman who said her boyfriend had gone to this building and not come back, and there's a demon in the building who makes you kill yourself, or you have to make someone kill themselves to free you of the possession, and then it goes on to that person. And I thought that was a really cool concept of like people are disappearing into this building, and then others of them are like, oh, okay.
What I will say for it though is that it is, and I think this does come under most entertaining because it's just fun to be a part of it, but like the world itself is beautiful. It's fun to kind of work things out as you go along. I know with every game, like the first couple little bits of are just basically a tutorial, but it didn't feel like it was super tutorial-y, if you get me. It felt like you were kind of genuinely coming to grips with this new thing as a character, like, oh, okay, I can do this now, I can do this now. And it was a fun world to explore. I just think that at times it was very good, and at times it dragged, and I felt that took away from it.
I've always said that a sequel to this game with a bit more combat depth and a bit of a tighter story, fucking phenomenal, could be. But
I genuinely think it's a really good looking game, and that's the thing. Like the masks and like the enemies and the story is a standard story, but it's
really cool.
They've tarted it up enough to make you go, oh, this is cool. This is something a bit different. I mean, I liked you come across the marching bands and stuff like that. Like not the marching bands, but like the procession of death. They're cool. There are bits later in the story where you're on the train going to different areas, which I don't think you've come across.
I haven't done that.
Those are fun bits. So they were really good bits, but they were like moments of light in grey. Sorry to have talked over you talking about that game.
No, I think that is it. I can't say that this is a great game, but neither would I say that it's a bad game. It's a good game.
It's one of the more interesting ones to talk about here, especially because I think we were talking about this before. It's one of the few times where we have all played the game.
Yeah.
So we're not just sort of relying on your recounting of it to understand it. We all have our own formed thoughts about it.
Yeah,
and it's interesting to hear everyone's discussion.
Yeah, I will say this is one of the games that, like, will I go back to it now that the episode is done? Yeah, I probably will. You know, I'm interested to see where it goes. But, you know, I can't say that for all of the games that I've played. But
I do think I sat down and I played only this game when I had it just to completion. But I think it's because I knew it wasn't going to be a taxing game. I thought...
Yeah.
Well, I know we last episode we talk about games that switch your mind off to.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate switch your brain off and just knock it. As you said, it's your middle of the road game for last year. It's the game that was inoffensive, was just there, didn't hate it.
Just good.
It's just fine.
I wouldn't say it's great. I wouldn't say it's bad. I'd just say it's good.
Yeah. Cool. That's Ghostwire. Do you want to be angry next, Darren?
Oh, God, yeah. Okay. This is a game of real fucking two halves. As a puzzle game, really good. There's some really strong puzzles in there. Some of them are real fucking brain breakers. Where you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. And then you sort of puzzle it out and you're like, cool. Like one of them is, it's the first puzzle I got stuck on.
Yeah.
And they all have like fun names that sort of indicate what it is.
Okay.
And this one was called Deception.
Right, okay.
And the sigil you're trying to acquire is there as soon as you walk in. And it's got like one of the coloured locks on it. It needs a blue beam to unlock it, and all you have is a red. And you have like a red door to your right, and then you go through into that next room after you unlock that, you've got a red door to your right. And what you essentially do is you build a square where you have your blue beam unlocks the door to get to the next one, but you're one connector short. So I was staring at it going, clearly I've got to rewire this red chain to free up one of them. And it's not that. What you have to do is once you get the blue laser, instead of unlocking the blue door, you go backwards through the red ones. So because you've just gone like in the square unlocking the doors,
you're already in a linear path.
Yeah. So your brain's like, okay, I unlock this one, then I go through, and you have to go backwards through the ones you've already unlocked.
Cool. Yeah.
And it's got some cool stuff like that, and you unlock extra bits. Like the thing you start with is jammers, where you jam doors open, you jam like guns down, and then
Bob Marley shows up.
Yep. And then the next one you get is these laser redirectors, and then the next one you get is fans, so you blow stuff up into the air. My brain stopped being able to keep up with it when I got to recorders, where you record yourself doing actions, and then it replays. And the reason that broke my brain a bit is because in the recording, if you pick up an item, it is that one version of the item, and you put it wherever. When you are replaying the recording, when the recording picks up the item, it creates a duplicate of it.
Yeah.
So there's a puzzle where you have to blow a connector up into the air to connect a laser, and there are 4 locked doors. And what you have to do is record yourself picking up all of the items, putting them on the door locks, and then in the real world, they stay there so you can blow the thing up into the air. But the recording puts all of the things on the locks in its own world.
Right, okay.
And I couldn't keep up with that.
I mean, with this game, I did a lot of the reviews were very much like people loved it because it was like you really have to think with this one. Like a lot of puzzle games you've come across, and it starts becoming a bit samey, a bit not like they're not too hard. I mean, it's like Portal. Everyone really loved Portal because it was it didn't talk down to you.
Yeah.
But then, like, I like The Witness, but I felt like a lot of The Witness was samey, like Polar Line or Rhyme was very similar.
Yeah.
This feels like a game where it's like, oh no, I mean, are you going to get onto this properly? But it's like. It's puzzles for the smart people.
Yeah, it adds new stuff in as it goes, but there are points where you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I've seen sort of, when I did that recorder puzzle, I'm like, okay, I've seen what the recorder can do.
Yeah.
So every time the recorder comes up after that, you're like, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it all. The story of this game is, I fucking hate it. I hate it so bad because it is the fucking most pretentious, wankiest shit I've ever heard in my life. It's trying to do this whole fucking narrative about like the emergence of AI and like intelligent machines, and it goes through from this sort of an angle of philosophy. So what separates man from machine? Like the title of the game is based around the Greek myth of Talos, who was like a metal man they built to defend an island, and he had basically molten metal running through him as like blood. Okay. And it makes the argument of he is a humanoid, he bleeds, he is powered by his blood. Does that make him a man?
Right.
And if not, what separates him from man? The problem is, I, for my day job, work with AI, and it's not that impressive. It also takes this weird, like, religious angle of it, where you're
shocked.
You're talking to Elohim, you're talking to God, and I think it's the idea of like he is man who is granted life unto machines, as God delivered life unto man, and the realms of Greece, Egypt, like medieval England, and Christianity. It's all these different religious angles, and there's a computer you talk to who is this like intelligent assistant, and there's some shit there where you're basically debating philosophy with a robot. And then you try to create a admin account because you've been locked out of the system, and it does the verification checks to make sure you're not a robot, and you pass them because you're intelligent. Oh. But it's just so fucking... Do you know people who read Atlas Shrugged and think they can comment on like the intelligence of government?
Yeah.
It's that for gaming.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh, have you played the Talos Principle? It's so smart and so refined, and oh, it makes such intelligent commentary. And it's like, it's fucking entry level philosophy. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
It thinks it's the height of fucking narrative and commentary on intelligence and philosophy and religion. It's fucking not. It's just, it's nothing.
So the game would almost be better if there was no story. You just
Once I
went from puzzle
started
to
paying
puzzle.
attention to the story, I had a much better time. Because every time I talk to the robot and it's making these comments of like, oh, you think that values are earned, but you can't seem to state that on like what you think makes human over machine. I'm like, shut the fuck up, computer. You don't know. You made me answer these questions specifically so you can then come back in the next level and go, oh, I don't think you have a grasp on your thoughts. I'm like, fuck off.
It's weird. These two games we talk about are almost the polar opposites of each other. One is ignore the story, enjoy the puzzles, and the other is ignore the gameplay and just enjoy the story.
Yeah.
So Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Is this the height of philosophical and religious commentary?
Yes, it is. No, so I'm going to talk about the game before I get into the bit I fucking hate about this game.
Cool.
And it's not the game's fault. Well, it is the game's fault, but it's not a reflection of the game, is the way I'm going to put it. So the game itself is aesthetically brilliant. I think it's exactly what I wanted it to be. It is a little PS3, PS2 almost styling. Like these ink monsters pop up, and they are very old school style. Like they're very like amorphous blobs that sort of move a little, almost like they're not smooth, but you go, is it because it's a style, because they've made everything look a bit more edged and rough edged, because they've done all these drawings and you've got like Bendy looks a certain way. The story is creepy as well, and there are moments you're like walking around, like chapter 1 I think is potentially the best chapter, only because it's the opening and I wasn't getting frustrated by the game at this point. You're walking along, and then there's loads of these cutouts of Bendy. So to describe Bendy, he's like I said, he's got those Mickey Mouse gloves on. Yep. He's like a little black round body. He's got a big smiley face the whole time, and his head almost looks a little like a demon. He's clearly meant to be almost like a little bit of a cheeky character when they do it, but he's actually clearly like the devil. Yeah. And like you're walking along, and like a cardboard cutout will just like plink out the side of the corner and backing like, what the hell's going on here? I don't understand. You know, this is a little uncomfortable walking around, and it's good, but then the puzzles are simple, which is a shame. The combat's a little sketchy, but you're going in it for the general atmosphere, which they do really well. You get introduced to the ink demon quite early on, which shows that something's gone horribly wrong here, and it starts chasing you. And the music they use in this is brilliant. I think it is really tense. You think you're getting out of here, you're running to the door to exit, and you then fall through the ground, and it's a lot of remove the ink to make your way further down, and everyone is a little distorted. Throughout the game as well, there are collectibles which are voice logs, and they're all the people who used to work there. They're like, this guy's on the side of this, but they're all like very real characters, and you have to listen to them to work out the puzzles. So like, there's one which is like, I can't believe I've lost my keys again. I've got to find them. You find the keys in a bin, because he mentions a bin somewhere in his voice log. So you grab them, go back to the door, and then there's someone else got another voice log in there. He goes, I just love the music. And the music is different. So you couldn't follow a guide for this because they randomize the puzzles.
Oh,
so like
cool.
in the trash, like you go, it's in a bin. You couldn't just go, I'll follow this and run to that bin. Oh no, there are about 20 bins on this level. You have to check all of them.
One.
And it's a random one.
That's really cool.
And then there's stuff like the music puzzle, which is, I like the sound of the drum, then it's followed by the banjo string, then this, and then it goes down. But then on the other one, I've played this level about 5 times now, it's in a different order each time. So you couldn't follow a puzzle, but you could see, this is how I'm meant to solve it and work it out, which is, I think, is a really cool thing. But it's obviously to do with the coding. There's randomized nature in it. And the story is good. I haven't finished it. Now, why have I not finished it? This is the reason I have a problem with the game. It is buggy as fuck when it comes to saves.
Love it.
Saves do not work.
Yep.
So there were 3 save files in there. At one point, I had one which I got through to the end of chapter 4. When you're doing the beginning of chapter 4, it says in this, make sure you complete each chapter and then save it, because it does. If you go partway through a chapter, you sometimes lose past that chapter's progression. Yeah. Fine, not ideal, but if each chapter is somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour or under that, fine, I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh no, there are points it will cut you all the way back to the beginning. It will.
Nice.
There are points. There are points where it will cut you back to the beginning where it won't do it properly. There are points where you lose it all. At one point, I had 3 save files in there. I could quit the game, see all my save files in there, go back into those save files. Fine.
Yeah.
I close it down, come back on. Only 1 save file still exists, and it's an hour beforehand.
Oh, cool.
I've lost everything. The other day, I'm just going to try and complete this all in one run through. I'm not going to stop it. I stepped out the room to do some editing on a video whilst Keris was doing something on there. Not to have a go at you. It wasn't your fault. Keris, I'd saved it. It was fine. Keris shut down the PlayStation. I came back to it. I'd lost 3 chapters worth of progression. And I went,
Ooh.
You know what, game? Fuck you.
Yeah,
I installed the game and went, you're not getting finished.
Yeah.
So the issue isn't the game. I think the game is actually really fun and really cool. It's just fucked itself because it can't save itself properly.
Yeah.
And why is that the case? It's almost like they've got something in the code that lets you randomize certain things, and it's now decided, I'm going to randomize this. I literally ran through the game with a guide to find all the collectibles for the cans, and I decided I hadn't done them, and I never left the game. Cool. So it's just a little too buggy. However, in the episodic run-through 1 bits, as it's meant to be felt, it's cool, it's fun, the combat's a bit fucky, the puzzles aren't as good, but the atmosphere and stuff is really enjoyable. Okay. I know I spoke a lot there for Bendy, but that's how I feel about it, and I can't believe a game can be this fucked with saves. I genuinely cannot. It beggars beyond belief. I just don't get it.
I wonder if it's the same thing as we had problems with Knockout City because it wasn't tracking things correctly.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it is like there's a weird connection between it displaying your saves and it containing your saves, and something in that connector is fucked.
Yeah.
Where it saves like your old save and then you save and it doesn't like replace it and it gives you the old one.
The worst bit is there are clear bits where it's saving in the bottom corner. It's doing like the save symbol. There are even little save machines around the place for you to save yourself
But
out.
it isn't saving.
But it doesn't recognise it. But it does if you stay in the game and never quit the game.
Oh, maybe that's part of like the weird distorted element.
Maybe that's what
saves
it
are
is.
distorted too.
Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, the story overall is quite cool. To spoil it for everyone at the end, you finish it all, and in the epilogue, so I've not sort of had it. At the end, it's almost like your niece is talking to you. Oh, that was a fun story. Let's tell me another one. And then that's why there's another Bendy game. There's quite a few Bendy games. Okay. So it's almost like you're telling stories of how you've tried to solve this issue with Bendy.
Yeah.
The whole thing is that the guy has basically communed with the devil.
Nice.
Right? And he's summoned him. And you think this guy, you find a guy who's all black wearing like a Bendy mask, you go, oh, you're the villain. And then he immediately gets murdered by this actual fucking ink demon that chases you down. And like the rooms go dark and you have to go hide in cupboards and stuff.
Oh my God.
It is fun. Like it is good, like little horror, good little indie game. But yeah, that's Bendy. That I would fight that this is the most entertaining game, even though it's bugged as fuck.
Yeah.
How weird is that? How weird is a game that's annoying me so much that I deleted it? I would argue it is more entertaining. than other games.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know really what to argue for.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to say Bendy wins.
Like, I almost, yeah, like, I kind of want to argue for Ghostwire because it's the only game that didn't produce outright hatred.
Yeah.
It only dipped as low as mediocrity.
Yeah.
The only reason I think that I'm looking past that is because although it's annoying that it's fucked up the saves, the actual game is good.
Yeah.
This is a byproduct of it. If you have 5 hours and you're not interested in like going for the trophies or anything like that, you just want to run through the game, you will beat it and you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Talos is fundamentally a good game.
Yeah.
The problem with it is I spent the entire time playing it wishing I was playing something else.
I get that.
Just because it's a bit like... I hate the story, and if you're not following the story, it's a bit bland.
Yeah.
It's just... The puzzles are all sort of visually quite similar. It adds new stuff in occasionally, but at a pace where things start to get a bit dry before you get there.
Yeah.
And then I don't like some of the additions anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's fine. If it's what you're in the market for, it's good at what it is.
Yeah.
But I kind of just wish I was playing something else.
Yeah.
I would argue that all of these games do everything they want to okay, but nothing astounding.
Yeah.
You know, there's
I
all this
would say
drawbacks
that,
to all
yes.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this clearly wants to be more than it is.
Yeah.
But it didn't gravitate to me as well.
It might be just because of who you are and what you work
Yeah,
with.
and to be fair, also, you said about Bendy's voice logs. This also has voice logs, which I think alludes to it trying to make a commentary on global warming as well.
Nice.
It feels like it's trying to do everything, but none of
Yeah.
it's landing because
Right.
it's in a fucking puzzle game where you move blocks around.
It's funny, I find a lot of puzzle games try and have some sort of social commentary. They're like, oh, you clearly like to expand your mind. Let's expand your also.
It's people praise stuff like Spec Ops: The Line got a lot of praise, which came out like a couple of years before this did. And if this had the gameplay that came alongside its discussion on like religion and philosophy, I'd maybe be more into it. But it's like this weird side content to a kind of nothing puzzle game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
Yeah.
If it was something like The Witness, where it doesn't do much
Yeah.
with its
Yeah.
story, I'd probably have more fun with
The
it.
Witness doesn't really have a story,
Yeah,
really.
because if this was just you go through these different like civilizations as God speaks to you, that's kind of cool. As soon as I got into the philosophy shit, I'm like, no.
Do you know the worst bit is? I played a first-person non-shooter. I mean, it used a bow and arrow earlier this month. The Forgotten City. And I feel like that.
It's a great game.
I think that probably did more for commentary on death than this one did.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And the only thing that I can't argue with Ghostwire is that it's like, it is entertaining. I just wish it was more consistently entertaining,
yeah.
which is its biggest drawback, I think.
I'm voting for Bendy. That's where I'm falling.
Here's what are you voting for?
I don't know.
I just know I'm not voting for this.
The fact that you're undecided, and I'm very adamant that I think.
I think it should be Bendy.
Yeah,
go for
Because you're the only
I
one who
think
feels strong
I don't
enough.
I don't feel strong enough about Ghostwire to fight it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cool. So Bendy and the Ink Machine gets it, which means there's a point for every person now in this, and it all comes down to play of the game, which is not where I wanted to be, or Darren wanted to be, or it's where Keris wanted to be, probably.
I'm happy to say mine because
You go for it then.
I nearly died playing this game.
Oh, nice.
I did. I nearly died.
In real life,
In
or
the
just
game?
in the
In
game?
real life.
Nice.
In real life. So when I got Ghostwire Tokyo, I went into Ghostwire Tokyo blind, by the way. I had no idea what kind of genre it was. I just figured it was like a science fiction action thing, right? So I go in, and there are parts of this game that are genuinely creepy, and I didn't expect them to be, right?
Yeah,
So
they are though as well, aren't they?
Sorry. I'm in the hospital, and it's right at the beginning, and I'm starting to get a feel for everything, and I'm not good at the combat yet. I've only just started, so I'm feeling a little clumsy, and I'm feeling a little bit like, oh, okay. So, and then out of nowhere, right, the atmosphere shifts.
Yeah.
Right, and when the atmosphere shifts and you start seeing different things, it has this horrible music as well. It was like, boom, like minging. So I was like, oh, okay, no problem. It's quiet for a bit, and following the arrow to go and find Mary. And I'm at this point I'm paying attention, but also I've got like a can, and I'm like so I'm starting to take a little drink because I'm like, okay, nothing is happening right now. And while I'm drinking my Fanta, the atmosphere changes and one of these Slenderman people just like appears. I jumped a fucking mile. The Fanta like clocks the back of my throat because I gasped. I did an audible like I nearly did what you did in Mexico and threw the Fanta can everywhere. So I'm like grasping onto this can, coughing, dying, trying to pause the game because this Slenderman dude is like coming at me. I fully nearly died.
I like that your biggest play of the game for Ghostwire Tokyo, a game which is quite mundane, is a thing that happened to you outside of the game because the game is
trying to kill you.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think it's a shining commentary on a horror game, though, that it nearly killed you in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was coughing, I was spluttering, I needed to take 2 minutes, and then you came in and said, "How's the game?" And I said, "I've shit myself."
That is true.
Yeah.
Do you want to go next, Darren?
I'll do mine. I'll do mine, yeah. So I talked about you sort of have the worlds and you have the puzzles in this, and basically the way it's set up is you go into you have your hub world and you have a smaller hub, and a hub will have 5 levels in it, and they're on their little own contained boxes.
Yeah.
So you can't take the items of the puzzle outside of the puzzle. You go in, everything you need is in there. The exception to this is the hidden collectible of this game, which are little stars which are around.
Okay.
And they typically take a bit more thought to get. And what I really like about the stars, and this is sort of the play of the game and that it elevated it a bit, is you have to start thinking about these hubs as a collective.
Right.
So my favourite one is I walked into the hub and it has this obelisk in the middle.
Yeah.
And the star is at the top of the obelisk. I'm like, well, I can't fucking jump or climb. So how do I get up there? There's a fan at the bottom and there's a laser receptor. The fan has no fan on it. It's like a fan holder.
Yeah.
So I'm like, clearly I need to get a fan and I need to get a laser. So then when you go into each level, you're looking at, right, there's a laser here. How do I get this laser over there without taking anything outside of the puzzle?
Right.
So
okay.
that one I think is the way you solve the actual puzzle is you put the laser director on top of a box, on top of a fan. So it goes up into the air. Yeah. And what you have to do is ride the box up with it and then jump on top of the wall of the puzzle and put the connector down so it meets the other one.
That's cool. So, the puzzles are also interconnected, but they can't leave and stuff like that. So I really like stuff
The other one I really liked, this one was the main one I was thinking of, is you walk into a puzzle and there's a room with it locked in with a connector with a red laser. There's no red laser anywhere nearby. And as I was doing, I came to this puzzle second. The first puzzle I went to is you have to basically boost the laser. It's the same thing where you put a box, connector on a box on a fan, and it goes over the wall to connect it. And I walked over and I went, I've just had a red laser that was in the sky. And I looked over and I'm like, it's not there. Is it that laser? How do I get that over here?
Right.
And what you have to do is go back to that first puzzle and basically work it backwards to get all of the materials in one place. And you have to put more boxes on the fan to boost it higher into the air so you can then see the laser. But it's really good at promoting that thought. Because as I say, the main puzzle's got a bit boring because you have stuff like the fan and the recorder. Once you've seen it used once, you've seen it. You know how the recorder works, you know how the fan works. That completely overhauled that by going, okay, how do I get that over here without taking anything outside of the room? I have to either get it high enough or angled. There's another one where you have to put it through holes in a wall. About 3 puzzles. And you have to connect it in a straight line.
All I can imagine right now is Keris going, this sounds insane. My brain doesn't follow what's going on here. I hate it.
But I just like the idea of you have the puzzle and then you have the puzzle around it where you're like, okay, I need to get that over here without moving anything. How the fuck do I do that?
I think it's a really cool thing. I think it's just, it's not your sort of game. I would never have bought this game for Keris. There was not a chance in hell. But I mean, the satisfaction of solving those things as well is just unreal, I find.
Yeah, it's a lot of you look at it and go, okay, it's the best if you find the stuff first.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, I need this to get in here. And you go into another puzzle, you're like, well, here's that. How?
Yeah.
How do I do this? You sort of patch the link.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that. I really do. I mean, 2 very different sort of things. I mean, yours is more like the mechanic they've got in there, I suppose. For Bendy, it's interesting. It's hard to work out exactly when I think my play of the moment is. So just to give you some context, in there are only like 4 or so characters really.
Okay.
There's you. There is Bendy, who's known as the demon, who sort of shows up. You don't really interact with. There's a person called Alice Angel, who's like the female character in the thing. Who I think is meant to be like, it might be a woman, might be a cow. I'm not sure what it is.
Okay.
And she is twisted and demented, and she's busy been killing the other characters, multiples of them, which is called Boris the Wolf, to try and preserve her beauty. And she's getting more and more twisted. And you've got a Boris that you've got who is scared of the dark, so he's like cowers whenever it's dark or things. You have to put like a lamp on him, and you have to lead him where he wants to. He even gets stolen from you at one point by her. Like there's that whole moment, where it's like someone in a film, like think you're dead, and there's a person there, and they get dragged away very quickly. It happens with Boris, and then you're trying to find Boris. So the chapter 4, you're trying to find him, and you've got this sort of bond. You want him to get there, but you don't know where he is. You go through a haunted house. So this is sort of the lead up to it. I was like, this is cute. And it is. You're like a little haunted house, right? So after all this real spooky stuff, you're in like what's meant to be like a kid's thing. So like there's you're going through, and there's a little what's it called, gravestone, and then up pops a ghost that's exactly the same size as the gravestone, like it's all drawn in there, and then his arms goes pting, and it goes at you, and then like the skeleton, like, this is really funny and cute. Like, it's doing like a joke on the fact it's a horror game and this is what we want to do.
I like that.
And you're going through this, you're like, this is cute, and then you get to the end and you find your Boris. But he's not your Boris anymore. He's been like turned into this monster Boris that you then have to fight. I mean, there's a cool trophy where you can beat him with a plunger, which I did do.
Nice.
But as he's about to come and once you've beaten him, this evil twisted Alice runs at you and goes to kill you. And then a sword appears through her chest. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you're like, what the hell? And then behind her is good Alice and good Boris.
Okay.
But Boris doesn't trust you, and he's called Tom, and the other person is called Alison. Like, it turns out that some of the creators have been twisted and turned into characters from it. And it was like this really cool moment, like, there's a lot more to this than I meant to. And this is like just before chapter 5. You're like, what a great fucking reveal. You've done it's such a cool thing. I know I've probably spoiled bits of the game, but it won't take it away. But like, I love the idea that Boris is no longer Boris, he's called Tom, and Tom doesn't trust you. And although he's been your friend the whole time, like, Alice has been bad and she gives you some food, and then he gets angry and throws it on the ground so you don't have it whilst they have you. So it's like this whole dynamic change. And at that moment I went, you know what? This is really cool. Yeah. This is really cool. And they did in 5, you're like, it's the last chapter, and they introduce a bunch of new stuff, and you're like, you know what? Fair play. Like, they bring in the thing where you can see like hidden messages because there's writing on all the walls.
Yeah.
And then there are hidden messages in there as well. You're like, fair play. This is really cool. You've done a lot of things. And it's that moment of, wow, guess what? Turn it all on its head. Make me go, this is cute. Oh no, what? And I just got all these emotions very quick. I'm like, what the fuck? This is like a tiny, nothingy game that really I thought nothing of.
Yeah.
And then I play, I'm like, fuck it, I actually cared for this Boris guy.
And then the game eats your save and you have to do it again.
Yeah. Literally fucks you up that way. And fuck this game. But I think that moment of going from that little ride to going to see this and doing the change of that boss fight, it was just brilliant. Brilliant stuff.
Very cool.
Play the games though. Who are people voting for is the question.
I don't know.
I mean, I think I'm going to vote for yours. Just because it sounded entertaining to listen to. And to be fair, mine's not really a play of the game. It's more of a
play of the life.
Dodge to death.
I really like the Talos Principle. I love what it's done there, but I think it's more of a principle part of the game rather than a moment in the game that goes, that's cool. If there was a specific challenge, it sounds weird, but if it was like, this was a particularly difficult one that I just solved, and I, that is that moment of it all clicking, I think I would have gone for that, but I think I'm going to go with...
Yeah, I think the problem with the majority of people's play of the games, in sort of the context we do it for this, would be something like when you're talking to the computer and it makes you do like the robot verification check and you pass it. Yeah. And the problem was I fucking hated all of that. I imagine a lot of people play that and go, oh my god, that's so cool and clever, and I just fucking thought it was awful. So I think I have to vote for yours, because I hated it.
You can't see it, but he's just really happy.
Another episode win to me. Yeah, I think I'm now 2 ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, guys. How many more episodes got this season?
10 guys. Don't get cocky with it.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 3 more.
Yeah, we have 3 more.
3 more episodes. So it's all to play for. but in reality, I'm safe.
Yes.
In reality, I'm not losing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can buy whatever fucking games I want now. But yeah, that brings us to the end of what this is. Before we finish first-person non-shooters, should we have a look at what we're going to be doing in a month's time with the next fight episode by looking into the random genre generator?
We got a weird one this time.
We got a weird one, haven't we?
God.
Very
Okay.
excited. So, our topic for next time, funnily enough, in the generator, this is the first topic we ever wrote down,
Oh dear.
and it's finally been loaded out.
Is it names?
So it's same first letter.
Same
is
first
what it's
letters.
called. So what that is for the person we are buying the game for, the game has to start with the same letter as their name.
Okay.
So, like, I will have to buy a game that begins with J. Josh will have to buy a game that begins with C, and you'll have to buy a game that begins with D.
Okay.
So,
I don't know.
genre-wise, completely fucking open.
Amazing.
You can buy anything.
I don't
It
know.
just has to start with that letter.
I have no idea how most accurate it's going to win over other ones.
Maybe it has the most of that letter.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Oh, what a weird one that's going to be. All right,
That's so weird.
I'm going to have to start... I mean, there's no chance of us buying the same games this
Also,
month.
going to be hard one to Google.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I got to be honest, I think you've drawn the short straw here, Darren.
Yep.
with Jay, so I do apologise. But yeah, interesting.
Awesome, okay.
We'll see how that all works out.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep, but that brings us to the end of another episode. Thank you for making your way through this with us as we fought for supremacy. Do check us out on our socials at DiscountPod. That's on Instagram. That's at Instagram, that's at Twitch, that's at YouTube. We're on all of those fun platforms. We also have our own individual ones on Instagram, which is at Discount Keris, Discount Josh, Discount Darren, all with 2 C's.
Yeah.
YouTube is getting all the videos up there slowly. We are making our way through it all. Darren's full Kingdom Hearts Part 1 is up there. And by the time it comes out, I imagine all Demon Souls will be up there. And we'll be putting some episodes up from like random ones. Twitch, we are on 3 times a week, Mondays and Fridays at 7 p.m. British Standard Time. We are doing Legacy Games, which is going to be Darren doing some sort of Kingdom Hearts, me doing some sort of Soulsborne game, and Keris at this point might be done with Pokemon.
I might very well.
Who knows?
But she might not be. So might be Pokemon, might be moving into her next one, which I'm not going to spoil in case it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And then on Wednesdays we do episode games, which are Vaults on the first Wednesday of the month, and then it's the 3 episode games which come out. So if you enjoyed any of these games or are interested in them, do check us out on Twitch because you will be able to see what we have been playing of those.
Hurrah.
Any other housekeeping? If it's on podcast, you're listening to the podcast, please like it, give it 5 stars, do all that sort of fun stuff because we do need that. It helps us massively. But any other things that people want to ask or say?
No, I often have something funny, but this wasn't a funny episode.
This
for me.
wasn't.
It was just turmoil.
Last things last. If you got any ideas of other topics we could be doing, make sure to send those in via Instagram, email, any of those things. They're all available on all our things.
Unless it's Anime Girl tax games, because those are digital only.
Yes. And we'll definitely consider it. And if it is you that we choose, we'll put your name next to it as well going forwards. Cool. I think that's everything.
Believe so.
We will catch you next time. Thank you for being our player force. And later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.